And welcome, little post-Thanksgiving Facebook Live here today from East West Digital Marketing. It's Giving Tuesday for those of you that have not been on social media yet today and your phone is not blowing up from all the people, including myself and the staff of the Chattanooga FCA, who are asking you to be a part of what God's doing through the ministry of FCA. We'd love for you to jump on board. If you're watching each week, just want to give you an invite right off the bat to join our team. I'll post a link in the comments below, whether it's $5 or $5,000. We would love for you to be a part of what we're doing. And really, our team members, are what's making this possible every week for us to do this and to do the research and all that. So it's been a blast. So here's the idea today. And I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Mariah Carey Christmas is playing on everybody's radio right now, and it's awesome. So we put our tree up last night. So I hear this a lot in the coaching profession from parents and things like that. You know, we've all heard the stories. I used to walk to school in snow, uphill, barefoot the whole way. Each generation has their own stories, but I hear this a lot, that kids can't take criticism. Here's what I believe. I believe kids are hearing more criticism today than ever before in the history of the human race. Kids are experiencing more, and there's no escape from it. I'm a believer. I don't like using the term bullying. I think kids have been bullied forever. But here's what I do know. Used to, if you kind of got picked on at school or punked out, which we all have, and we probably all dished it out at some point too, when you left school, you would go home and there was a break from it. No one was going to call your landline phone and your parents answer and things like that. That would actually take some bravery and courage. But in today's day and age, with social media and things like that, like there's almost no absence from the criticism that we face and the comparisons that we face. So I don't think it's that kids can't take criticism today. It's bigger than that. I don't think kids can take praise today. And really, it's summed up in this idea of feedback. The goal of coaching and the goal of parenting and the goal of leadership is not to teach someone how to take criticism. All right. The goal is not just to teach someone how to take praise. The goal is to teach someone how to receive feedback and then process that information and utilize it to actually make them better. So it's not criticism or praise. The goal is actually feedback. I can remember Dr. Steve Underwood, shout out to one of the greatest professors of all time, Dr. Steve Underwood at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. I owe so much to that guy. Still a great friend today. I can remember junior in college, I was in a class called motor learning, and he had us on the basketball floor, and he had us blindfolded, and we were shooting free throws. Now, disclaimer, I'm about as good at shooting free throws blindfolded as I am with both eyes open. But that day we're on the basketball court, we're blindfolded, we have a partner with us, and we're shooting free throws. And the one person's job was to shoot, and the other person's job was to give feedback. And they would say, hey, a little bit short, or hey, too much on it, right, left. And all of a sudden, completely blindfolded, if you listened, received that feedback, and then utilized it the right way, you're hitting free throws over and over because you're using the feedback correctly. So the goal in leadership, coaching, parenting, whatever, it's to teach people to process feedback. It's not just receiving and hearing the information, it's processing it and then making adjustments so that that information that you're receiving is actually useful to you. So the ability to process feedback, I think, is somewhat incremental too. I think oftentimes we have too much of an expectation for our little kids. They're like, well, they're just not coachable. Well, no wonder. They're 6 years old. Okay, they need to be parented before they're coached. So we're trying to teach them to be coachable, and we haven't even taught them to be parentable, or whatever the term would be. They don't know how to process feedback and stuff in the normal everyday task, and then we want them in the midst of a huge game or a huge match or whatever to be able to handle all of this stuff. So we got to understand, as parents and coaches, it's a little bit incremental and chronological. It's the way God designed us. So don't try to rush to it. I mean, a 7-year-old shouldn't be processing probably the same feedback as an adult. So I want to give you today some keys to feedback. Let's just not talk about an idea. Let's put some things into practice. I believe this, it's a skill. You learn it over time. You have to take time to teach this in everyday life, and it can't just be sport related. If the only place you're trying to teach this to your child is in the world of sport, Newsflash, we say it every week. Sport's going to end at some point. You want them to be able to do this in everyday life. So here's 3 tips for teaching how to process feedback. Here's the first thing. If we want to be good at teaching people how to process feedback, the first thing is this: we got to be clear. All right. There's got to be a clear expectation and things like that so that they know. I mean, when I'm shooting free throws and they say, hey, you're too far right, I know I got to bring it back to the left a little bit. It's pretty clear. So if we want our young people to get better at that, then we've got to be clear. They got to know what we stand for. They got to know what we value. They got to know what the expectation is. And it's not just in the sport world. It's in everyday life. Here's the second thing. We got to be concise. It's not a paragraph. I'm often very guilty of giving lectures, and oftentimes those lectures fall on deaf ears. We need to be clear when it comes to giving feedback and teaching that, and we need to be very concise. Here's what it is. Here's what we expect. Now let's go make it happen. And then the third thing is we need to reward correction. True story. I got to give a shout out to my guy, Charles Pike, father of Chad Pike. He was telling me one time how they were training like whales at SeaWorld. And he said this. He said, what gets rewarded gets repeated. And so here's how they train those whales. They put a hula hoop on the bottom. When the whale swims over it, they throw in fish. Then they raise the hula hoop up in the pool. And when the whale swims through it, they throw in fish. Then they raise the hula hoop up. When it swims through it, they throw in fish. Then they take it out of the water, and this huge animal jumps through this hula hoop, and we all go crazy because they throw in fish. Here's what we know. What gets rewarded gets repeated. So when we see our young people yield to the feedback we give, process it, and then utilize it, man, we need to you don't have to reward them with something extrinsic. Just stop and let them know that you value the fact that they took that to heart and actually did something with it. Here's 2 dangers of feedback. All right, 2 dangers. And I think these are things that are just big dangers in our world today. Here's the first danger that will prevent us from getting good at this, whether it be giving feedback or receiving feedback. The first one is sarcasm. It's sarcasm. I believe this. Sarcasm is one of the most dangerous things in our culture today. It's almost become a universal language. It's its own language. People just speak in sarcasm. And all the research says sarcasm is usually a result of some sort of insecurity. But if we're sarcastic in receiving feedback, and kids will do this a lot when you give them praise, oh, they don't really mean that, or whatever. Or if you criticize them, they'll turn it into a joke or whatever. We've got to let them know that this is serious, and this is how you get better when you process things the right way. So one of the dangers of being effective here is sarcasm. So we've got to eliminate that. It's not that we can't have fun. It's not that we can't be funny, but we want to be really careful to make sarcasm the universal language that we speak all the time. Here's the second thing. It's shame. Again, it's when receiving or giving the feedback. The goal of giving someone feedback, information, instruction on how they can get better is not shame. It's to produce a positive result. Okay? Listen, we're all guilty of it at times, but we want to make sure that our goal's we're not shaming them into something. We're pushing them towards something or pulling them towards something a little bit better. And not only is shame in the giving of information when it comes to feedback, oftentimes in the receiving of it, that shame sometimes is when you see a kid that's really struggling there, man, you've got to intervene somehow, some way. All right. And it's not that, hey, they're soft or they're not tough. Here's what I know. The old saying, hey, sticks and stones break my bones. Words never hurt me. Yes, they do. Words hurt. Okay. They hurt all of us. I don't care if you're a 41-year-old man or a 4-year-old child. Words hurt. We need to make sure we're choosing our words carefully, and we're trying to use those things to produce something that's positive, and we're not shaming people into things. So as you are on this journey, listen, don't be so quick to say that kids can't take criticism. Nobody really likes criticism. Let's teach them to receive criticism and praise, because that falls under the umbrella of feedback. And then let's watch them get better as they learn to do this in all areas of life and not just the sport related areas of life. So in closing, man, as we go into this Christmas season, I know some of you coaches, man, you're right in the thick of things. Winter sports are cranking up and things like that. Man, make sure you're coaching them hard, you're prepared, and make sure you love them harder. Take the time to let them know that. I know it takes diligence, and you got so much on your plate, and I've failed at that in my coaching time oftentimes. But, man, make sure you're coaching them hard and you're loving them harder. And parents, man, let me just remind you, don't try to be their sport agent, okay? Do not try to be their sport agent. You be their parent. And every time they get in that car, make sure you let them know, hey, make sure you let them know how much you love to watch them play. Thanks so much. Again, we want to invite you to be a part of Giving Tuesday. I'll post a link in the comments, man, whether it's $5, $50, $500, 5,000, 50,000. There may be somebody out there that just changes this whole day for us. We would love for you to be a part of that team as we seek to make a difference in the sports world and really see some positive change take place. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.